kind of person.
In the virtual world, yes, I've seen your name a
Mhm.
lot, on Facebook and our, little community and groups. So
Mhm.
it's nice to finally meet you
Yeah,
virtually. Look forward to meeting you in person.
yeah, me too.
So let's see, who else do we have on?
Just because all we have for the moment, when anyone else come in, for now, I'll promote them, if we stay in this section, but if we continue on, I just make sure to be contacting them and talking in the panelist side.
Okay. And I do know that there's a couple of people, someone has a medical appointment, and then someone just emailed me that they won't be in the meeting. So I know there's some people who won't be attending.
Okay.
Uh, so Jessica, if you can tell me a little about your business and a couple things that you need help with in particular.
Okay. My husband and I have a healing and expressive arts center in the downtown area. Uh, it's on the left side of the Black Cat. It's the corner building that has no name, and
Oh,
that is the purpose.
barbecue on Broadway?
No, we are kind of across from A and B. Um,
Oh, is it the Magnolia Ellis building?
no, no, you know where the Black Cat is?
Yeah.
So we are on the left side of the Black Cat. It's the building on the corner.
Ah, okay.
There's an empty lot, and then there's the Black Cat.
Okay.
So we don't cater for to the public,
Mm-hmm.
but to people that come and schedule programs and events. So since we don't sell anything and we don't have walk-ins, that's why we decided not to have any name on it because everybody will start knocking on the door. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
so we have, as I mentioned, it's an healing and expressive arts center. We have a website that just went down, and I'm trying to fix it with the guy who's doing
Mm-hmm.
the hosting for us. Um, we do solo retreats, couples, um, lineage like mother, daughter, granddaughter, or family, people that have maybe experiences with death, recent death, or divorce, change of lifestyle. And we have a river property where people can stay. So we
Mm-hmm.
cater mainly to 1 to 4 people, but we also have the option to have group leaders lead an event at the building or at the river, um, as well. And we have a sound room where we have a like floating bamboo flooring, and
Mm-hmm.
people can do yoga, movement, sound. It's very contained and it's very nice for that. Um,
Okay.
we During COVID, the website was my project, and I learned WordPress, and I did
I
that.
was going to ask you what platform you're using.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then after COVID, we're like, what are we doing? So promotion is what we're not good at.
I was already getting that feeling is that marketing and promotion, PR is going to be very important for you, and also really targeting the audience that would be booking retreats. In fact, I work for a yoga festival, and our founder went to Bali to a conference that was specifically for retreat leaders. So, of course, you want people to book your retreats. It was like a facilitation. You can also connect. So retreats could present, but then they could also, network with each other, and with ways to get people booked. So okay, so promo, marketing, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you for that. And we have, I don't want to say your name wrong. Mayowa. Can you hear me?
She's muted.
I
Oh,
I can. Apologies for being late.
That's
I'm just
okay.
I'm on the way to the library, but
Did I say your name right?
Mayowa.
Mayowa. Oh, yeah.
Yes. So I'm an artist that does sort of social practice
Mm,
work, and largely a lot of my work is about connecting communities through interactive art and installations. Run a studio called Ample Labs, and I'm based in Santa Fe, but we're sort of all over the place. And
mhm.
yeah, I was just curious. I'm a recent New Mexico transplant, so very interested in the CID and
Nice.
just
Welcome.
kind of seeing ways that I can engage with the community here.
Well, you're in the right place. CID is amazing. I'm so just thankful that the Economic Development Department would really specifically support creatives because, as we know, New Mexico is chock full of creatives, and of course, there's a lot of heritage creativity, from the different Pueblo and Native traditions, the Hispanic traditions, Mexican traditions, and the Old West traditions. I live way out in the country, surrounded by ranches, and there's families that have been here since before it was a state. So, so we really have a lot of really great opportunities for creatives. So I'm going to get into the PowerPoint presentation. So I'm going to share my screen with you all. I did email you about an hour before a document that is for your reference. And I left spaces so you can like go back, watch the PowerPoint again, make notes. So that is actually in the chat, I believe. The
Yes,
link
it's in the
is in the
chat.
chat, but I also did email it to you as well. And then we'll provide you a recording of this later. So I'm gonna go ahead and start sharing my screen. And don't worry, I'm not just gonna talk at you the whole time either. Sometimes it's like too much. And of course, just excuse any foibles or anything like that that happens. I put my cats in the bathroom, so I took care of that problem. So I'm going to share my screen now. Okay, share entire screen. Here we go. All
And
right.
Jessica, if you don't mind, cut off your if you could cut off your videos just for the recording.
Okay, yeah, thank you for that.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, so as you can see, this is probably what you saw in the email originally about the workshops. And my name is Allyson Hayes. I have been an entrepreneur since 1998. I am a silversmith, a trained metalsmith. I do metal sculpture, and I went to the Maryland Institute College of Art and got a degree specifically in creative entrepreneurship, because creative entrepreneurship is very specific. It's much different than the type of business training you would need to like manage a hedge fund or work at a bank as a manager. So I really wanted to provide something that's not only targeted towards creatives, but I see a lot of creatives out there making some really big mistakes out of the gate, or they'll build their career, and because they didn't kind of lay a really good foundation and have certain protections and things in place, their career could be hurt by that later. And so I really wanted to create a workshop series that is accessible, got what you need in it, but doesn't have all that like scary business stuff that you don't need. I've taken a lot of training in the past where I'm like, I don't need that, I'm running a, jewelry business. So let's get into the next slide. So this is, love to get rid of this bar up here. All right, we'll figure that out later. But anyway, the bar is blocking just the title, which you already know about. The goals of the workshop is I want to provide actionable steps for you to launch or grow your business. I want to cover key topics from branding to financials. Don't let that financial word scare you at all. I'm going to be providing you some links, similar to the document. I'm also going to provide you some written materials, tools, suggestions of things like website platforms, like we just mentioned with Jessica. And we're going to do later on in the workshop series, we're going to do some collaboration and networking with each other in breakout rooms, because networking, I think, is it's kind of people look at it as an old term, but it's still extremely important in business, especially for creatives. Our schedule overview today is 11 to 12:30 is I'm sorry, 11 to 12:30 is a presentation. We're going to take a 15-minute break from 11:45 to 12, so you can think about notes or questions and prep for the Q&A. And then 12:30 to 1, we have a lunch break, and 1 to 1:30, we have a Q&A session. And also, sometimes we just go with the flow. So that's our basic schedule overview. So some of the things that you want to think about immediately is, okay, I'm an artist, I have a retreat center, I am a performing artist, I'm a painter. First thing you need to do is think about your business name. Your business name should definitely have something in it that alludes very clearly to what your business does. For instance, my business name is Precious Elements Designs. So it doesn't say jewelry in it, it doesn't say metal sculpture in it, but it says designs. So people know, okay, this is some sort of design business. You want to develop a brand look. So that includes picking your brand colors. Usually you want to stick to about 3 colors. Too many colors gets too busy for people visually. You want to pick fonts that are appropriate to your brand. If you have a very earthy brand, you don't want to have a very kind of formal looking font. And you want to think about your brand voice. And when I say brand, I'm also talking about you, because when artists are thinking about, okay, I'm a business, you are the business. So your brand voice is, what is your message that you're conveying, through your art or through your performance or through, what your wellness center would be able to offer to people who would book retreats. So you want that brand to match your work and your personality, because, as I said, you are your brand. And people, a lot of times, it's you who end up doing the selling, or the people are attracted to you, and that's why they end up being loyal to your brand. So you want to think about researching the best e-commerce platforms. We already mentioned WordPress. WordPress was started as a blog platform, but now they have a lot of great e-commerce options for people who are selling a product, like me, jewelry, paintings, ceramics, things like that. Right now, Shopify is the hottest platform. They've got, it doesn't always stay that way, but they've got really top features. They've got the top integrations. You always want to think about scalability. So for instance, say, okay, I start on the basic plan, and then as I grow, I go to the, medium plan. And then as I grow, I go to the larger plan. So you want to make sure it can grow with you. You don't want to have to change your platforms. You can, and you may have to, because sometimes the features of the platforms change, but like laying that foundation, as the name, of the workshop today is, you want to really hammer down on the right platform. That doesn't mean that you keep yourself from launching. You just, you don't slow yourself down, but you do want to do some research so you don't start and have to kind of redo it. So a 3-year business roadmap. The reason I call it a roadmap rather than a business plan is because, like I said, we're not, starting a bank. We're not opening up a production, manufacturing facility. Creatives are, sometimes we get opportunities that we don't know are coming. Things can make shifts, So a roadmap is just something for your own reference that you can have as like a living document that you can continually keep referring back to and updating and changing, but you have something that you can kind of look at and refer to. So you want to define your creative practice and your business structure. And we'll get a little more into that later. Uh, then you want to set realistic goals for growth and your capacity. A lot of times people get off on, kind of pie in the sky numbers, or think that, I'm going to launch, and I've seen so many retail stores open and close within a month because they're not doing their research. They're not doing their realistic goals. So by the time they spend all this money to get launched, they haven't laid that foundation to make sure they are going to get enough people in the door, or at the concert, or, at the retreat center to keep it going. So you want to set realistic goals and know your capacity. And you really want to outline your product offerings. And I will add, you want to diversify your offerings. You don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. That's why, like I said, I'm a jeweler and silversmith. I'm also a metal artist, and I do functional metal as well as non-functional, which is just artistic metal. And also, I do what I'm doing right now, creative entrepreneurship consulting. So yeah, you want to diversify with your products. And then you want to, speaking of marketing, plan essentials. One of the things that I find people doing is just casting out their message to everybody. You need to hammer down and target your audience and your market demographics. If you are selling to a really young crowd, well, it's going to be important to be on something like TikTok. If you're selling to a more like kind of a middle-age crowd, it's going to be important to be middle-age or older. It's going to be important to be on Facebook. Instagram is kind of the in-between. And also Instagram is a very visual platform. And Pinterest is a very visual platform that is very important for product businesses as well. That is actually a sleeper. It's really, really one of what they call a story selling platform. So you don't want to spread yourself too thin either. You don't need to be on every platform. You need to be on the platforms where your audience is. And you want to only take on what you can manage. If you've got YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, you're not going to be able to do the consistent uh, posting and building that relationship with your audience if you're spread too thin. So I would suggest no more than like 3 platforms, whichever ones are appropriate to you. If you're a performer, you'll probably have YouTube, and you'll probably have, Instagram, or Facebook, according to what you need. So choosing the right platforms, the right e-commerce shop for yourself, the e-commerce platform you're going to use. Um, and you're going to have to work on choosing the right local markets if you do shows with your work. A lot of people, I see them choosing shows that their work is just totally not appropriate for. So they're going to get there, they're going to spend a lot of money, and they're not going to make money because it's not their audience. Or their work is at a very high level and it's not matching the level of the show. So you want to research your shows. And then with marketing, you want to create a content calendar and automation. Because like I said, you don't want to spread yourself too thin. And there's a ton of automation out there. Even with Meta, you can do a lot of scheduling of posts. Hootsuite, there's a lot of different platforms out there where you can do that. And you want to sit down and get your content planned ahead. Is it's so hard if you try to just on a daily basis go, oh my gosh, I got to post, I got to do a story, or I have to do, a post or whatever. At least a couple weeks in advance. I know a lot of people that do their whole month, do it per month. They just take, a day and sit down and do it a whole month. You want to constantly be gathering things for your content. You want to constantly be, taking pictures or of your work, or, you got lifestyle photos because people want to get to know you. You've got definitely take process videos and post them. People want to see your process, or they want to see your space, or they want to see your performance. So you definitely want to put that on there. And video is getting pushed out heavily on Facebook and Instagram. Of course, those algorithms change all the time. Just recently, in the past week, I've heard of a lot of people's Instagram engagement dropping. So they must have changed something with the algorithms. But the next thing that will help you with those changes when they make them is tracking your performance of your marketing uh, efforts, your plans, and luckily, like Meta and some of the other platforms will have analytics for you. And you want to use those analytics. You want to look at what's working, what's not, what reel got, 1,000 views, what reel got 20 views, to kind of hammer down on what your marketing strategy is and what your audience wants to see. So you want to adjust those strategies as you go along and get the feedback, from those analytics. So going back to what I just mentioned about shows, is venue selection. You want to find the best fit as far as retail shows, trade shows. That includes, by trade, I also mean wholesale shows. You want to select those, those online platforms that fit. If you are a high-end diamond and gold jeweler, you want to be in a location that has a high demographic. So you want to research your places where you're going to choose to have a show and make sure the demographic in that area is going to fit not only your style of work, but the price points of your work. Then you want to constantly be researching event opportunities because it's all over the place. Some people, they only look on like Zapplication, say if you're a craft artist, for shows. A lot of shows don't use Zapplication. Some shows, one show I'm doing coming up in May, they literally still want you to print out all the documents, sign them, and send them in, versus using, online platforms. So a lot of event opportunities, you really have to do your research. Then you want to think about your production and your inventory management. If you don't know about your inventory management and how much you can produce, you'll get to a show, or you'll go to a store that wants to order something, and all of a sudden you can't meet that timeline because you got this great order, but you didn't realize it's going to take you 4 weeks to get it done, and you told them 2 weeks. So you want to know your production capacity so you can meet your demand, either retail, wholesale, or in whatever form. And of course, a performing artist, would be limited by, physical, what they could do physically. You want to write solid agreements. Say, for instance, if you outsource your production, you want to make sure you have really solid contracts and agreements, and we're going to get into some legal things later, with any suppliers or any subcontractors. Like, say, for me, I have some people, that work for me freelance who would finish jewelry for me, like prep it. But we had very specific agreements. And when you're looking for contractors, networking is a great way to find them, because people can list their businesses all day, but it doesn't mean they're necessarily a quality contractor. So networking is very important for that type of thing. And speaking of planning, you want to have inventory management tools. There's a lot of wonderful platforms out there that and apps and things like that that you can use for tracking your your production, tracking your inventory. Like I said, the analytics is tracking, what you're doing online. So you always want to think about, kind of keeping a hold on that production and inventory management because, like I said, you want to know your capacity and you want to be ready for success. Then you want to think about, okay, I'm making sales. How am I going to do that? There's a lot of different payment platform options, things like Square, things like Clover. You want to compare and contrast and see what their terms are and their prices and what really fits your business. And then you want to obviously minimize your fees. So, for instance, Clover is a little higher fees, but in my opinion, they don't really offer much more than Square does. So, but maybe Clover fits, a certain business better than another one. Pricing. I can't hammer down enough on how important your pricing is. If you don't price for profit, basically you're not going to be successful. You're going to end up literally either going underwater or you're just going to break even. You're not going to have any profit. One important thing I'll say about pricing, it seems counterintuitive, and I did it myself, and I actually ended up being included in a book and was on a podcast about it. A lot of artists and creatives and especially like performers, things like that, undervalue ourselves. Uh, in fact, it's counterintuitive. Raising your prices usually increases sales. I know it sounds crazy, but it's true. If you're offering this beautiful ceramic bowl you've made for $25 and you've done all this amazing work and you're telling them about the glazes that you came up with, they're going to go, $25? You didn't make that. You're buying it and reselling it. If it's $150, then it makes sense to them. Then they can see the value of it and therefore buy it. So it's counterintuitive, but when in doubt, raise your prices. Because guess what? You can always go down. And you want to make sure, for that profit, to have that profit in there. But you also have to think about what the market will bear. So sometimes, like, for instance, I have, silver jewelry, but I also work with brass and copper. So with some pieces, I may take a little hit on my profit on the silver piece, but my profit on the brass and copper is so high, it makes up for the little bit that I lost off of the silver um, item. So you have to think about that too. There's ways you can kind of, balance profit and ways you can affect it by, material selection and having kind of a stratification of what types of items that you offer or what types of, say you have like a short concert or you have a long form concert. Say you have, you 3 day, 7 day, 14-day retreat options, things like that. The booth and retail setup for craft artists or anybody who's selling a product, as well as anybody who's entering a space, you really want to think about signage, your displays, and a lot of those can actually be, tricks to get people engaged, even your displays. I use a lot of living out in the country and being in New Mexico, there's a lot of beautiful rocks everywhere. So I use them in my displays on my table. And sometimes the rocks will attract a person because they're like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. Then they start looking at the jewelry. So that is a trick to get them engaged. Um, and with display, you want to do best practices. I see people with wrinkled tablecloths, um, you know, empty boxes in the back of their booth, things like that. You want to really hammer down on having a clean booth that matches your brand or your store, that matches your brand, You don't want things to be scuffed or dirty, or, you want things to be, light and bright so people can see the work. So you really want to think about that. Now, signage is one thing that it is my pet peeve. I'll tell you that right now. It's one of my pet peeves. A lot of people, they don't take signage into account, especially retail locations. Also, this goes for if you have like a booth at a show as well. If someone's driving down the road and they can't read your sign, they can't tell what kind of business you are, and they're just going to keep driving. For instance, in Santa Fe, not too long ago, I was just driving down the road on Cerrillos, and all of a sudden I see the word Greek really big. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, is that a Greek restaurant? Sure was, because their sign was big enough for me to see. Now it's one of my favorite places. In your booth, say for instance, your booth is a 10 by 10 booth. Well, you want to think about like what size to make that banner that you're going to put in your booth. And you want multiple banners in your booth because people not only are looking at it face on, they may be walking by and they'll see it on either wall of the booth. Or you might have it across the table, in the front of the table. You could even get a branded tablecloth that has your logo and everything on it. But you want to make sure your signage is very visible. Another great thing with signage is, including your logo, using the right colors. I've seen so many people who they have a sign, but they're using like a white background with light blue letters. I can't read that. It's like you really, even though it might be the colors you want to use, you have to think about the colors that are going to pop on a sign, but that still match your brand. And you want it, like I said, size, size, size. If people can't read the sign and tell what it is, there's a business on 3rd Street right now in Tier C that I want to talk to so bad about their sign. It is tiny, and it also has the same problem. It's got a white background, very light colored text. It's got a very busy kind of logo, so you can't even really read the words. And it's a cute business. It's so cute and interesting, but when you're driving by, you can't tell what in the world it is. So things like that are some common mistakes that people make that people turn people off. If you got this gorgeous jewelry or ceramics or paintings and they walk in your booth and it looks trashy or it looks unkept, that all reflects on your brand. Even if, like I said, your work is beautiful. So those are some common mistakes with that you can avoid. This is getting back to that foundation. You want to have some sort of business formation. There's differences. Sole proprietorship, you can operate like that. You file your taxes just like the 1040. You do a Schedule C, that's for your business income. You're going to get taxed on both. You're going to get taxed on that business income, and you're going to get taxed as being self-employed. So sole proprietorship, you got to remember that. And you also have no legal protection for your personal assets if you were to be sued for something. For say, for instance, a glass that you're a glass blower, and a glass breaks in someone's hand and cuts them. They can sue you, even though it wasn't your fault, or maybe it was. Either way, they could sue you and get access to your personal assets. So now we get to the next thing, and it's incorporating. There's different forms of corporations. An LLC is called a limited liability corporation. So with that, you get the protection that if you were sued, for instance, your personal assets would not be vulnerable. But a limited liability company or corporation still, again, has that kind of double taxation. You're getting, taxed on your business income, and you're getting taxed as being self-employed. Another form of incorporation that is really great for producers of people like us is of products. It applies to all businesses, is an S corporation. The only problem with an S corporation is pretty much you don't want to incorporate with that until you're making at least $50,000 a year. You do have to have a board, and it's not like a corporate huge board. It's like, it could be you and one other person, or maybe two other people, and it could be like your mom and your sister, so but the S corp that gets taxed, basically you're an employee of your own corporation. So you only get taxed as an employee. So that is an ideal corporate structure. And you get that same protection, that the limited liability corporation does. And you do not have to pay a lot of money to get these done. S Corp, once you're there, and because it is a sophisticated setup, yeah, I probably would pay someone, but shop around. LLC, super easy to form in New Mexico. Go to the Secretary of State's office, website. It's $50. You get the certificate once, and it's for lifetime. I had someone the other day tell me that uh, someone wanted to charge him $1,000 to do an LLC. So you really got to do your research and watch out for those kind of things. And as I said, the structure you choose is going to affect your tax rates and your liability. Management systems. You want to streamline your administrative tasks and your workflow. Time management is of the essence, especially for us who are in creative businesses. Usually our creative practices take a lot of time. And that's time we love because we're producing what we do. But when it comes to, sitting down and, doing your kind of business side of things, you really want to streamline that. And again, really use those different platforms and apps and things like, bookkeeping systems. And someone told me about a great app, and I will be providing a lot of resources that helps you sort your receipts. Because a lot of people, they're leaving money on the table when they're filing their taxes. Because if you drive a lot to go to, perform or to go to shows, that's a lot of miles, and it's depreciation on your car. And a lot of people leave a lot of money on the table. So if you get all your administrative tasks in set up in a way that's organized, and you're taking into account all your things that are involved in your business, it's going to help you save money on taxes. It's going to help you be more efficient, and therefore, make more income. So you want to use tools for tracking your sales. For instance, like I use Shopify for my website. And again, it's got great tools for tracking my sales. It can, I can track my collections. I can use it for my email marketing. So you can kind of integrate everything into one platform. It's great when you can do that. You can't always do it. And again, don't spread yourself too thin. And that's kind of the reason I'm on Shopify. I can handle my shipping. I can handle my SEO. I can handle my email marketing. I can handle my inventory tracking, all under that one platform, versus having a separate platform for all those things. And understanding basic financial reports. Ooh, yuck! Don't get upset. Don't do it. Uh, Profit and loss. These are some basic financial reports you'll need to have. You don't necessarily have to get super formal with them. I'm going to show you some examples. The main reasons that you would need to get very formal with these reports is if you're approaching a bank or some entity for a loan. Grants may ask for something like this, so you do want to have them prepared. But they do not have to be big, scary documents. I use Excel spreadsheets, which is what I'm going to show you. And I'll explain each sheet, each report as we look at it. The great thing about these reports for yourself is they help you track and manage your cash flow with these reports. And it's great because you can see, oh, March, April, May, oh, those are my busy months. And then it falls off in June, and then July, August, September, so you can help you know how much inventory you need. It helps you, plan for growth or purchases and things like that. So yeah, these reports are very, very important. The other things that are very important is setting up your business, again, foundation. You need a business bank account. You don't want to start mixing your personal and your business financing or finances. And a lot of times, if you are, for instance, dealing with, getting financing or a grant or, other things, they're going to ask you, do you have a business account? And some things, even to say, do contracting work with another company or to get paid, they're going to want to pay you under your business name. And if you don't have a business account, you can't put that in your personal account. So setting up a business bank account, again, very easy, but you will need some documentation to do that. One thing you'll need is an EIN number, also known as, I think they call it a TIN number, but basically you get it from the IRS. You go to their website. It's called an employer identification number is what EIN means. And you get it immediately on the website. They will send you a letter that has the number as well. So this is something else you want to have for your business because, say for instance, when I go to a wholesale show, I need to have my business license. First of all, we're going to talk about that too. I have to have my EIN number. They want to see certain credentials to know that I'm a business. I'm not just coming in as a customer and buying wholesale. So with having said that, it's also important to have the licenses, proper licenses for where you're selling your work. For instance, I travel a lot to different states and different cities. So for instance, I've got a Sierra County business license where I live, but when I go to Santa Fe, I have to have a special event license to do shows in Santa Fe. When I go to Colorado, I need a Colorado tax number. Not every state does that. And I also need a city of Boulder, whatever city I'm in, I need a business license. So you really have to make sure that you're getting the proper licenses that you need for, wherever venue you're going to be in. If you're, because you're selling something and you want to have your tax number. New Mexico, it's called the tax and revenue. You want to get your tax and rev number and you want to establish your filing schedule. Sometimes they will change your filing schedule on you according to the volume of sales that you have. Tax and Rev had a huge makeover, I think a couple years ago. And they have added a lot of resources to help you understand how to file those gross receipts tax, GRT. You'll see that. And you can go in the office as well and sit down with someone if you need to really get that straight. Because I'll tell you, in this state, you do not want to have problems with tax and rev. They don't play. So you want to make sure you got that straight. I see people who, especially at art shows, they'll go, oh, if you pay cash, I won't charge you taxes. They do send agents out to shows, to retail locations, just to catch you saying something like that. So, don't think that, and guess what? That's not going to close your sale. You shouldn't have to do that to close your sale. Your work is valuable. Your performance is valuable. You don't need to break the law in order to make that sale. And so, yeah, tax and rev, very important, and important wherever, what state or venue you're selling in. So your bookkeeping, another one that can be scary. Luckily, there's a lot of platforms out there. QuickBooks has been around for a long time. It's kind of expensive. It doesn't really have, it's not as like modernized. I mean, they've been trying to keep up with things. But there's a lot of other platforms that are out there for bookkeeping. For instance, like I was saying, there's an app where you can, just take a picture of your receipts and it starts to immediately separate them in different categories, which could then be dropped right into your bookkeeping app. So, or there might be something where it's a bookkeeping app that already has that feature in it. So you want to make sure you have some sort of bookkeeping structure. Um, Here's the next really important thing, and I saw somebody practically lose their whole career over this: business insurance and legal protection. Uh, Liability insurance to protect yourself from, like I was saying earlier, if someone, cuts their hand on that glass and wants to sue you. But it also will cover you, say, if you're at a show and a windstorm comes up. As we all know, in New Mexico, we got bad wind, and your booth flips over and hurts someone. There was a show that I heard of where the booth went flying with 50-pound weights on each leg and landed on someone's car. So, of course, those 50-pound weights busted the car all kinds of ways. But they had insurance, so they didn't, get sued personally. Their insurance covered the damage. So it's not just liability insurance you want to think about. You want to think about business insurance for your whole business. There was a lady I did shows with. She was a jeweler of 30 years, and she had her studio in her house, and her house was robbed. Her security cameras were not placed properly, so they couldn't get a clear picture of the people who cleaned it out, and they stole everything down to she said, to the trash cans. Just nothing but dust bunnies left. And she thought she was covered under her homeowner's insurance. Turns out she was not. She had no coverage at all under her homeowner's insurance for her business in her home. So 30 years of supplies, of equipment, all this was gone, and she had to start from scratch. If she had had a business insurance policy that cost as little as $500 for a whole year, she would have been covered. And of course, you can, pick and choose, the level of insurance you need according to your business, as well as, scale it up as you grow. But I cannot stress the importance of business insurance enough. Say you're going to a show and you're staying at a motel and your car gets robbed and all your inventory gets stolen. Your car insurance is not going to cover that. Yeah, they have some personal belonging coverage, but they're not going to cover all your artwork, all your displays, and all that. So business insurance, I can't say how important it is and how inexpensive it is. Now, liability insurance can be purchased per event, or it can be purchased, of course, for a physical location, as well as business insurance for your physical location. And the same thing for performers. You can have insurance too. Same thing. I think one of the main companies I like to use is ACT. It's called Artists, Crafts, and Tradesmen. But there's many of them out there, but that's one that I've used that I find very affordable and has great coverage. Then you want to think about your legal protection. You want to review contracts and policies with a lawyer. I know lawyers are very expensive, but if you can get rock solid contracts, rock solid policies, for instance, your return policies, if you have one little glitch in your return policy, you could end up losing a lot of money having to, uh, repair something or replace something, or, leave some hole that's going to end up costing you money. So those policies are very important. There's a lot of, I think there's lawyers for the arts. So there are quite a few inexpensive ways that you can consult with a lawyer to help you create good contracts. Like, for instance, when I was hired subcontractors to help me produce my jewelry, there were certain terms in there, say, things that are I expect from them, production volume, things like that. So you definitely want to have solid contracts. So let's go right into one of these lovely spreadsheets. Now this one's called a profit and loss. And I know there's a bunch of numbers on here, but it's really very simple. When you look at the left side, you'll see your gross sales. That's simple. You're going to write down, okay, what did I make in January, month one? There's that gross receipts tax, that GRT. You want to put that in there. And then you're going to back that out. You see where the gross profit line is. That's what you're making after, you've paid your taxes. Then, so you've got that's the profit side. Then if you go down, you'll see operating expenses. This is where you really want to be very detailed. People leave money on the table with this. Every single thing that goes into your business, including, the Carhartt work pants you got to buy because you're blowing glass in a hot shop. Special, you got to have steel toe boots, maybe if you're working with iron, those are things that are expenses of your business. Here I'm listing some pretty obvious ones, like, your supplies, that could be paper towels for your studio. It could be, for me, like I use hydrogen peroxide, or I use a pickle to clean my metal. Your repairs and maintenance of your workspace, the business use of your vehicle. Like I said earlier, you want to make sure you're getting that in there. Um, your website fees, your retail show fees, your retail store rent, your accounting and legal costs. Say you're paying for that QuickBooks, or that lawyer session. You want to make sure that you're getting all those expenses in there. And even if your business is in your home, there is a tax form called business use of the home that you can file. Now, of course, not your entire home is occupied by your business. So what you do, and they have formulas, for instance, say if 50% of your home is the business and 50% is your personal space, then you're going to take your telephone, your utilities, your insurance for the space, and you're going to 50% of that is your business expense. The other is your personal expense. So a lot of people make that mistake as well. Then you go down, and the down here you can see where is also depreciation, the taxes, the interest, maybe you're paying on a business loan or something like that. Those are going to be backed out. And then after they are, down at the bottom, you're going to see your net profit, what you've made after all these expenses have come out, all your payments, all your interest, all the gross receipts tax. So, and this is a living document that all you have to do is go and update these numbers. And again, it'll allow you to track, how you're doing over a year, which will help you with financial projections, which is another thing we're going to talk about. So down here is the balance sheet. I had a wonderful business teacher, and she just hammered down on your balance sheet must balance, your balance sheet must balance. Don't get too crazy on that. A balance sheet can just be a great reference for you to kind of go, okay, these are the assets I have, my studio equipment, my building that I may own for my business. These are fixed assets, things like that. Then you have your current assets, like your cash on hand. Say if you have orders that are placed, wholesale orders, that's going to come in 6 weeks. Your inventory on hand. So you want to that kind of gives you an idea of where you stand financially with your business. And your liabilities. So assets and liabilities are the assets are things you own. Liabilities are things that you need to pay. It could be, loans. It could be things that you need to pay out. Like say you have credit with a supplier and you need to maintain, those payments. So other liabilities are your taxes. You'll see gross receipts tax right there. And then you'll see long-term liabilities. Like I said, maybe it's a business loan. So for instance, if you look, you'll see next to current liabilities, it says what is due within a year. That's what's considered current. Then your long-term liabilities are things that are more than a year out. For instance, like a loan, you may be taking 3 years to pay that. You may have a business vehicle that has a loan on it. So that's going to be a long-term liability. Down here, your paid in capital could be your personal money invested. You retain earnings is obviously the profit you're making, and your owner's draw. You need to pay yourself. Like if you were an S corp, you're going to be paying yourself as a employee. But otherwise, when that net profit is there, you have to account for paying yourself. So you don't want to forget that. Again, that's money left on the table. A lot of people, it's just make sales, buy more inventory, and run out. Make more work and run out and sell it, and they have no idea what's going on with their numbers. So a balance sheet can be again another good living document that can give you just an overview of your business. And next one. This is a budget. Just like you would do a budget for your personal expenses, you want to do a budget for your business. Your business, again, get everything in there. As you can see, I've got business, gas, and travel on line 15. I've got work clothes on line 14. Part of your landline at your house and your cell phone that you use for your business. Those portions of that is going to be, in your budget, your federal tax, your gross receipts tax, and those. When you go back to that profit and loss, and you start looking at that whole year and how much, for instance, you paid in gross receipts tax, that's going to help you know what your budget needs to be as you do your financial projections for the next year. So your budget is, again, a living document that helps you know what's going on in your business, as well as allows you to make sure you're taking every single write-off that you can, every expense that you can. Again, people leave a lot of money on the table with that. Let's see. So yeah, this is a basic budget. You could do a spreadsheet, and it'll help you track things and help you do projections. And let's see. This is a projection spreadsheet. You can do month to month. It could be according to your needs. Again, it doesn't have to be a big, scary document. You could just do 3 months projections because maybe you're a new business because you don't know yet. But you could do 6 months projections. You could do a year. You could go all the way to 5 years, depending on, where your business is. And those spreadsheets and those reports, those financial reports we just looked at, is what is going to help you with your projections. So you could do, like I have here, you could do year one revenue and expenses, which is the same as profit and loss. Then you have year two. But as I wrote, these are not pie in the sky numbers. With your projections, they should be based on those numbers from those documents. So you do want to base it on your hard data. You want to base it on current orders or future orders that you have coming in. You want to base it on research that you've done. You want to base it on financial trends because the market, customers are very volatile when it comes to things that might be going on in the world or in that particular community. So you want to look at financial trends. You definitely want to research your demographics really hard. Like I mentioned earlier, you don't want to be selling to a wide range of people. Maybe your customers are, women who are aged between 40 and 55, who like to travel, they're very outdoorsy. You really want to target in on your audience. This will help you with your projections as well as your marketing, of course, like we mentioned earlier. Economic trends, of course, if we're in a recession. I remember the last bad recession, I made it through by adding a lot of copper and brass jewelry. And say I would have a piece that had a little silver on it, and then the copper. So that was a way I could still make profit. So you want to adjust to trends, economic and financial. Then you want to look at consumer patterns in your industry. Of course, there's always changes in the industry and what consumers are looking for. And then you want to look at any hard data related to your business, and that will help you with your projections. So you do want to have your projections be based on real numbers. A lot of people, like I said, they'll go, oh, well, I want to make, next year I'm going to make $1 million. Well, how are you going to get to that? do you have a plan, that you're going to make $1 million next year? So you want to base your projections. You want to be realistic. And yeah, so we'll let's move on from that. So at this point, let's see, it's 12. So why don't we take a break for lunch from 12 to 12:30? As I know that's a lot of information, and we'll pick it up here with choosing the right accounting system. And we're going to talk a little bit more about the legal and business consulting. So if we could take a break, and I'm sure people might need a bio break and a break from me talking. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen.
So we'll end up coming back at 12:35.
Yep, that's perfect.
All right.
And think of any questions you got. And yep, we'll see you at 12:35. Thank you.
Mhm. Got everyone back.
Yep. Hello. Quite all right. I know 30 minutes is a snack, really.
I made some tea and grabbed a bunch of nuts.
Yeah, I
And I
had
forgot,
it.
yeah, and I forgot to turn my video on, and I just grab a big bunch.
Uh,
Oh my God. I want to thank you. It's a very thorough and reassuring, for me at least, that what we've done, we've covered. I'm like, wow. I have that. Yeah, mi amor, I'm in the middle of the workshop. Hello, goodbye. I'm in the middle of the workshop. Goodbye. No, I have them. Bye. Silence.
I know I just did do not disturb myself. I was like, I didn't have.
Yeah, yeah.
So you were saying,
Very, I was like, wow, this is a very complete list of things that we need to look at. Insurance, the taxes, like we do the CRS twice a year,
uh-huh.
which is the gross receipts taxes. Um, and I'm like, okay, this is like validating. Great. I'm like,
Awesome.
yes, yes. The LLCs,
Mhm.
um, the contracts we have, like whenever we have events at the building, that it's a retreat leader who's doing it. We ask for an event insurance also
Okay.
from them. Yeah.
Yeah, especially with because like I said, I work for a yoga festival managing the vendors, and we have to have specific things in the event insurance to because when people are doing yoga and things, people could get hurt, so there's very, very specific insurance
Yeah.
needs for certain types
Mhm.
of businesses for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And a lot of people, I'm an artist, I don't, they only think of health insurance. And it's like, no, your business needs health insurance too.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
it's so inexpensive, or, it can be so inexpensive depending on, what your business is and uh, what your needs are. But
Right.
compared to what it'll cost you, you know,
Exactly.
that I feel so horrible, especially in the art world because we travel so much.
Mhm.
Or you have your studio, which can be broken into, or a retail store. That it's so many times I hear these like you have GoFundMe's happening because like all their artwork got stolen out of the van, or the entire van and the artwork got stolen.
Exactly.
Now,
Mhm.
their car insurance, will cover the van, but not all the artwork, not the pro panels, not because
Right.
especially painters have very expensive uh booths because of the way,
Oh,
they have to
right.
set up a gallery, basically. So I don't know
Yeah.
if we have everybody back yet.
Uh,
No. Oh, okay. So I'm gonna show go with the last slide, and then I want to do some more like Q&A and learn a little more about now that you've heard what I previously spoke about. I want to do some Q&A and also like hear about any specific things that you need help with or questions. So I'm going to share my screen again.
for the presentation, if everyone can cut off their video, and then for the Q&A, we'll cut back on your video so we can have the so everybody can come up in the video properly.
Oh my God. You saw my crazy desktop. Okay, let's go to. Anyway, I'm not gonna worry about that. We're just gonna look at the final thoughts. So we talked about branding and marketing. So it's really important that those things are aligned with each other. And it's really important that you, like I said, really develop your brand to match you and your product or your performance or your space. Because people, you want them to get to do what they call know you, like you, and trust you. Know, like, and trust. That's built up through your marketing and, them seeing, you actually making your work, or, the behind the scenes of the songwriting, or a video walkthrough of the wellness center, or a picture of, a class going on. You really want to blend. It's a real blending of things to start telling your story and stay consistent. Don't go all over the place with it. The financial planning and bookkeeping is really important to, it's really important, period. But it's really important to do that from the beginning. A lot of people just take off running. Like I said, they'll just go buy supplies, make a bunch of stuff, go sell it, and get in that cycle and just never set up their financial, like those reports or any sort of bookkeeping system. Because without that, like I said earlier, you're going to leave money on the table. You're going to lose money by not just being more organized with that. Your business structure and your legal consultations, very important, because your business structure can affect many different things. Like I said, your taxes, it could affect your ability to get financing, because some places, the sole proprietor, they just consider you an individual. You wouldn't qualify for a business loan. Oh, and here's something really important to mention is business credit versus personal credit. You want to start building business credit. And that could be getting a account with a supplier. Say for instance, I can do that with my metal supplier, business credit cards, any way that you can start building business credit. Like if you have a business loan that reports to D&B, Dun and Bradstreet is basically the platform, and it's really old, where you can look to see your business score, like your business credit score. So D&B, Dun and Bradstreet, that's something that it's like, Experian or TransUnion, but for business, so you can see your score and how to manage that. So that's something I'm glad I just thought to mention. And as we were talking about, the legals, how very important that is. If you don't have solid contracts, if you don't have solid return policies, solid contracts with venues or with subcontractors, things like that, you want to make sure you're protected. So, and there might be things that you're not even thinking about that a lawyer, would be able to help you with. Then again, we talked about your sales. A lot of times it's funny, like I said, the people who come in my booth to look at the rocks and then end up buying a piece of jewelry. Sales doesn't have to be scary. A lot of people will just sit in the back of their booth with their phone in their face and then wonder why they had a bad show. You've got to be, we're passionate about what we do, we're creatives, but you can't be shy. Sales doesn't mean like the car salesman type of thing. Sales just means, I just start talking to people. Hey, where are you visiting from? Or, wow, that's such a beautiful dress you have on. This necklace would look great with it. You know, just, you know, or you ask them questions, you know, this, it doesn't have to be scary, but it's very important because if you're not selling, you're not, you know, making any revenue. Pick your venues wisely. Pick your store locations wisely. Uh, Pick them according to fit your brand. And uh, if you don't, you're going to end up in front of the wrong crowd, and you're going to end up, you know, losing money. And the thing with venues and shows and things like that is you want to build up relationships with them. You know, a lot of times, you know, you'll get in a show a couple years in a row. Maybe you won't get in 1 year and you'll come back. So those are building up relationships. And for instance, if you have a retail location, I see this mistake over and over and over again in our local community. If any of you are on certain group websites for the county, you'll hear people all the time talking about, we don't need another taco place. We don't need another burger joint. You know, they'll open and they'll be closed within a month. So you really want to think about venue. You know, if there's no Chinese food, which pretty much we don't have. You know, we have one little food truck. Well, guess what? Open a Chinese restaurant or open, you know, just don't, you know, I've seen people like open a shop the exact same next to another shop thinking that they're going to make money when really they're not. It's that place is already established. You need to open up something that's needed uh, in the community, as well as place yourself in the right spot. Um, and inventory management, like I said, if you don't know how much you can produce, if you don't know how much you have, if you have low inventory going into a high volume show, if you don't know how much you can produce within a week, you know, you could be, you know, you might get this great opportunity and then deliver late. And in certain industries, you'll get a bad reputation really fast. Even though industries are large, it's surprising how word gets around. Um, so the next steps you want to think about is apply these things, what you learned. Like if you don't have a business license, go ahead and figure out what kind of license you need. Like I said, I keep one in my home county, in Sierra County. But when I travel and do, you know, different shows in different states or different cities, always know what licenses you need, because you do not want to get caught without a license. A lot of shows will require you to get that license before you can come, or they will require you to show them your tax ID number or to write it in. Now, they're not going to file your taxes. They're not asking to see your taxes. They just have to, because of their obligation to the venue or the city or whoever the you know, you're booking with, they're going to need to see that, hey, all the artists in your show or all the musicians or every, you know, whoever has got a tax number. So that means, you know, I'm not letting anybody in who doesn't have a tax number. So that's very important. And then uh, like I said, EIN number, also very important. Um, the structure of your business, again, very important. All those are foundational things. And insurance as well is a foundational thing. If you are in the planning stages and you haven't actually launched yet, and you know you don't have a lot of inventory, equipment, things like that, you know, acquire insurance when it's needed, but definitely acquire it. You don't need to pay for it when you don't need it, but when you need it, get it for sure. You'll be sorry if you don't. And um, so yeah, let's start some Q&A, see if anybody's got some questions or specific needs. I'm gonna get out of this, and where's my, you can see my horrible desktop. Yeah, so Jessica was saying that she was pleased to hear that a lot of what I talked about were things that she had done already. So she felt like it was kind of like going back over a checklist of things. So do you have any questions?
Actually, I do. I have a couple, but I'll just do one and see if I have time for the rest.
Oh yeah, we got like 30 minutes. So yeah.
Okay. So are there any wellness or healing programs through the New Mexico economic development or the divisions? I'm not sure.
You know, there was a grant that just closed this past weekend, and I do believe they had a wellness. Uh, they had different categories, and there were going to be, and this is a good example of any grants that you might look at. And I do highly recommend pursuing grants. Um, uh, but
Um, we don't actually service wellness and
okay,
health. In the six industries we do serve is more on the creative side. So if it's like digital marketing, when you do get closer to health, you get closer to food with us. But we do have, I think when you get to health, you're dealing with the Department of Health. And they are the ones that normally have grants for our health and wellness and those business ventures. But honestly, that's kind of been a reoccurring question because some businesses do move in a different way. So for example, if you're crafting health and wellness products, that's different than saying your health and wellness. So if you're crafting health and wellness products, yes, we do fund you because you'd be deemed a craft manufacturing company. But
mhm.
because outside of that, we wouldn't be able to do it. In
Okay, so
creative.
not for services, but yes, for products.
Yes, yes, exactly. Yes. If you're making your own products, crafting your own products, even making your own logo and crafting that product, that is more creative and does fall more into our industry sectors and where our grants and funding can go.
Okay.
Well, that's actually really great because then you've got two different ways. Do you produce any wellness products?
No,
Okay.
it's service.
Okay. Do you have any plans to? Because you know what's really hot? Branded merch.
Well, what I can
Yeah.
say is if you did like health and wellness in the case of like art therapy, that
Mhm.
would be funded underneath us.
Okay,
So,
we do that. We do that. It's part of the expressive arts that we have in our center, and it's
uh-huh.
connected with the kind of somatic therapies that they do. My husband does sound healing and he does craniosacral therapy
Okay.
in the same space, well, building. It's a different space in the building,
That
but
falls
a lot,
in our
right, a lot
space.
of that needs to go and be processed through arts. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
that goes into our space of creative industries 100%, especially when you start to go to sound, audio engineering. That does fall into us. The other thing I would say, if you do sound healing, I know I go to sleep. This is just a little tidbit I always like to throw in. I know I go to sleep to ASMR healing tones, and if you look at YouTube and you look at that market of that, that's like on almost quick passive income if you are able to do it right. So if you already have that, that could be possible marketing, social media marketing, digital marketing that you could use and be making your own content that is already just you working compared to doing something that's outside of your norm.
Right. Okay. Yeah, my husband is working on a video of a dolphin. He had an experience for like 10 years with these two dolphins in the middle of nowhere in the Caribbean, and they weren't even trained to do anything. They were just sitting there in a pool because some wealthy guy thought, I want to have dolphins. So he would go like every couple of months and spend like 2 3 weeks with them, and he would bring sounds in the pool. And the way they interacted, I mean, he has so much footage, and he's working on this video to kind of honor because they passed, and also the experience for him in the sound aspect of it. So that could be a product, the sound, the dolphin video.
Well, and look at that beautiful story. I mean, crafting that story on, in your social media or in your email marketing. I mean, you could, and then, there's the whole story. And then you can, especially with social content, you can kind of portion out things and tease it out. At first it's just the introduction or a picture of him in the pool with the dolphins, and you're like, huh, okay, what's this going to be about? Here comes the next one, and then you get a little more into the story. And, that was a wonderful story. And that's something that could be an entire marketing campaign, in itself, just that one story. And like
Yeah.
he's saying, turned into a product. And I'm really glad that he mentioned that, the health department, it could fall under. There's many, uh, it's great how diversified you are, because that's something else that we're going to talk about is diversification. Not having all your eggs in one basket. And how you can monetize things that you didn't even realize, that could be monetized. Uh,
Right.
that's the other thing. Uh, like I was saying, even your own brand, maybe you start selling, like for instance, at the yoga festival I work for, we have our own merch. We have like yoga blocks, we sell mats, we sell t-shirts, we sell straps that are branded with Sedona Yoga Festival. Now, of course, some of our vendors are also selling things, but they're different. They're different types of mats, they're different materials, and different types of yoga clothes. But we want our brand out there. We want our logo out there. And some people who come for a retreat, they may want a keepsake, of like, this space was so special. And they take that t-shirt with them, or maybe it's a little, here I am a jeweler. Maybe it's a little gemstone bracelet that has a little charm with your logo on it, something like that. So yeah, I gotta come by and see. I definitely have to come by and see this.
Yeah. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you. Yeah. I wrote it down. That's and I should follow up with the creative industries division or through the economic development department if I want to see about the dolphin video or the art therapy.
I would say with creative industries division, if you plan on like turning that into like a project or expanding on that, and that being a part of your business, that could be something that we can talk about. Where are you located, if you don't mind me asking?
In Tier C.
Okay, so it may be more of like me having to set up a meeting, and the next time I go to that area, and I'll just be housed in like a TRC, probably TRC Main Street. And anybody in that space can kind of come and ask any questions about creative industries, how they business fall in line, how we can probably intertwine some creative elements and go from there. Because we just did our open hours here in Albuquerque yesterday, so it'll be pretty much the same thing that I'll do when I go out there for more of an intimate, like one-on-one conversation. And then I am doing another one in Santa Fe because I know and I don't want to say your name wrong because I thought I had it right earlier.
Maiwa.
Maiwa. Yeah,
Maiwa.
Maiwa. I'm gonna be in Santa Fe at the end of this month for open hours as well. So if you have any questions, that could be a place that you'll be able to see or keep up with our creative industries division, and you can kind of have talk to us one-on-one too if you like that as well. But I know that's my nearest one. And I'll plan out, since y'all are in TRC, I'll just plan something in TRC in the next couple of months.
Okay. If not, we also go up to Santa Fe every couple of months or so. So maybe I can reach out to you and ask you, and then or I don't know how it works.
Well, if you're able to come up to Santa Fe I'm gonna be in Santa Fe every last Wednesday of the month for the next couple of months. So if you're able to just check in on one of those days, I'll be there for office hours the whole day, and anybody can come in and just talk to me or Shani or the creative industries director.
Okay. And your name is?
My name is Arlen Nelson. I'm sorry, I changed it. Arlen, like King of the Hill, if you ever seen it.
No, I have not.
Most people say that. When I lived in Texas, everybody saying King of the Hill. So that was the.
Okay. Well, I grew up in Colombia. I didn't grow up here.
Oh,
So I
understand.
don't know a lot of things that people are like, what? I'm like, yep.
No, that one is it's a gem. Not everybody know that one either.
Thank you. I wrote it down. Thanks a lot.
Well,
Hmm.
that would be great, Arlen, because I'll loop in. I'm a member of the Sierra County Arts Council, so I'll loop them in when you come down. Uh,
Yes.
because we have, gosh, we did our first studio tour this past November, if I'm remembering right. And the organizers, and I think a lot of other people in the community, were very surprised that it was 30 plus artists and 30 plus locations. And that is still a fraction of how many artists and artist spaces we have around here. And we have a luckily kind of a rebirth, refreshing of the Arts Council, which led to having that studio tour. Uh,
Hmm.
so I think it would be really great to have the Arts Council involved or just helping to promote, letting
Right.
people know that you are coming and that this division even exists. Um,
Yeah.
because a lot of artists, they just kind of feel isolated or forgotten or don't know where to start or and that's where the networking comes in, and that's where creative industries division comes in, uh, to help people figure out, like, okay, well, I'm only looking for art grants. Well, it turns out maybe, for instance, with Jessica, it falls under many different categories. So
Hmm.
so learning how to research, or using these fancy bells and whistles we have now to help us find resources. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. The Arts Council, it's planning on doing the art tour every year, and they are very excited. So they may need to reach out to you guys.
Yeah, yeah, most definitely. And I mean, I'll be in contact with the Main Street council and their arts councils too. So that'd be no problem. But it'll definitely be more probably after the end of our fiscal year here, and I'll definitely be working with you, Allison, and the arts council and figuring that out.
Yeah, there was a grant that I applied for, for the council, and there were seven awarded. And even though our proposal wasn't accepted, I was very impressed and highly encouraged with the types of things that were uh, granted funds. Uh,
Hmm.
the types of events, I've been in talks with a couple nonprofits in West is one, Arts Hub is another. I've been in talks with the city of Albuquerque, obviously Creative Industries Division, about how, we've got all this state chock full of creatives, and we don't have enough good shows. We don't have enough good venues. So and we don't have any wholesale shows. I went to Tucson, and there were two New Mexico tool companies that I already purchased from, and I order online. But they're New Mexico based. And I was like, well, I'd much rather just come to a wholesale show in New Mexico and buy from you in New Mexico. That tax money stays in New Mexico. And I'm
Hmm.
not traveling to Tucson or, wherever else for a trade show. And there's a show I do in Las Cruces that's a good example of something I want to get started. It's called Homegrown. It's at the Las Cruces Farm and Heritage Museum,
Hmm.
and it's all New Mexico products, not just food products, but also like gift items. It is mobbed every year. And I said, if we have a show like that, and I'm working with somebody, there used to be something called the Santa Fe Gift Market, which was a wholesale show. And I'm in touch with the lady who used to produce it, and we want to bring it back because it's a B2B show where New Mexico businesses can come and buy directly, know that they're buying from New Mexico companies, meet the person. They'll know it's not like resell items. They'll know that it's been made, handmade by this person for real. And of course they'd be vetted, as far as getting in the show. So that's something we want to bring back. And then we definitely are working on producing just some more high-end juried shows. I mean, there's some shows that people think are very high-end. For instance, I just saw on a website for artists looking for shows, they were like, well, what about the Rio Grande, Balloon Fiesta show? And everyone's thinking, oh my gosh, Balloon Fiesta, that's got to be a great show. Well, unfortunately, it's gotten very stale. It has, and no offense at all meant, because my mom and my grandma do these things. They have a lot of like home crafts, and it's just it's a lot of grandfathered in artists. It's the same stuff every year, and it's extremely expensive. So you have to look at like, okay, the booth price versus the crowd versus the artists I'm showing with. So yeah, that's really going to how venue selection is extremely important too. So Mayoa, do you have any questions? I hope I said that right.
No, I appreciate the clarity of like talking through some of the branding and positioning of the business, because I sort of accidentally started my practice, and it was always like a side thing. But at some point, we've raised almost $200,000 in grants and fellowships and things. And I figured we should probably figure out what we're doing and what our offering actually is, so that we can better articulate who we want to work with and who we don't want to work with,
Mhm.
whose money we should take and whose money we shouldn't take. And so
Oh,
this is coming at a really great place in terms of validating that I really need to clarify our why, our audience, and yeah, because we don't even have a website. All I have is the Google slide deck that I shared at the beginning of this meeting. So this
mhm.
is helping me like
Oh,
light the fire, you know.
yeah, yeah. Because especially, first of all, congratulations on having funding. And that's when it is really important to lay that foundation correctly, because you want to see, where, you've got X amount of money, and you want to be able to track where it's going. You also want to use that research and demographics to make sure what your activities that you're doing with that money is going to get the best return for the organization. Then also it's you want to build that, like you were talking about, like the brand. You want to build that know, like, and trust. People want to get to know you, then they like you, and then they trust you as a source, a go-to. Like if they're thinking about arts or interactive. Sorry, what did you say was interactive?
We do interactive installations.
Yeah,
Yeah.
interactive installations. You become a go-to for that. And honestly, that's a niche. That's a real good niche too. Um, as well as the retreat centers, especially that do a variety of things like you do, Jessica. Uh, both of you sound, like diversified, which is really important. And I am just so glad for you that you have some funding to work with. But yeah, all the things I talked about today have to happen so you can make sure, protect yourself with insurance and legally, and, have all your permits and insurance and things like that. And then solid contracts with the artists, because, you don't want to have an event planned. You've put all this money into marketing it. You've put money into signage and all this other stuff. And then poof, they don't show up. So there's got to be some repercussions, for that. And contingency plans, because sometimes things just happen. Things may happen. And that's, contingency plans are very important. And I'm just reminding myself right now to talk more about that for things when, say something like that happens.
Yeah. I think that maybe the only thing I might say, and maybe the question is, what's been your experience with fiscal sponsorship? Because that's one of that's how we operate. where essentially I have a nonprofit that's adopted me,
Mhm,
and they just charge me like an administrative fee, and they process all my grants, pay all my vendors and everything like that. And
mhm,
that's something that I felt was really helpful for me, but I realize is not accessible to every artist in
mhm.
terms of it's probably much easier to pay money for an LLC than to be like, oh, my bud that's like who runs this nonprofit. Let me write a contract so you can take this $40,000 that I don't want to take as personal income or even business income, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. So I guess maybe the question is, what's been your experience with other artists who are using a nonprofit or fiscal sponsorship model for managing their operations?
I do a show that is I actually have done two shows for 10 years in Santa Fe. I did the Santa Fe Artist Market, which is a 5013C, if I'm getting that right. And then there's another show also in Santa Fe that is the same thing. It works really well for these shows with their structure. So I like that idea of the nonprofit model. Then fiscal sponsorship, like the yoga festival I work with, because of the high level of the yoga festival's reputation and the presenters and everything, they get a lot of great sponsors who just want to get in front of their crowd. And they have a lot of success with it. So sponsors are awesome because then you're getting their whole crowd too. So you not only got your pool of people that you've been marketing to and gathering and your audience, but once they sponsor you, their whole audience is now going to be seeing you, and they're investing in you because they believe that their audience is going to get something that that is fitting to them. They're going to be interested in it. They're going to be, they want to show that this is the type of thing that we are sponsoring. So yeah, sponsorship. I've seen great success with that, and honestly, willing to pay for it. Not nickel and diming. When someone's looking to sponsor, they're usually at a higher level of development because they're able to sponsor. So yeah, I love that idea. And also the nonprofit. So are you thinking of not starting, like forming your own business or?
Honestly, it's like I think I'm gonna write it out until the nonprofit sponsor kicks us off because honestly, it's like it's been a great way to reduce personal liability because
Yep. Hmm.
it's I every time I get a grant, it goes to them. So the only thing I that's taxable income is what I decide to pay myself. So like
Yeah.
even if I pay for trips, if I pay for studio space, none of
Mhm.
that is mine. So it's actually been a really great resource, and I think I'll keep it until there's a compelling reason not to. Maybe it's like if someone forces me to, because that my nonprofit is based in that nonprofit is based in California. So like let's say CID is like we can only give to people incorporated here, then maybe I would try to find another fiscal sponsor or start a nonprofit here.
I like what you just said because it's a good example of the kind of unusual yet great relationships that can form between businesses. It doesn't always have to be so formal. It's like a relationship like this is highly specialized, and I'm sure that there's a lot of trust there on both sides by doing it this way. Um, but yeah, it is good for you to know and already be considering that there could come a time, and who knows, because it could be in order to take advantage of an opportunity, or it could be in order to comply with some other, program or anything like that you might be accessing, that you very well may have to, form your own nonprofit or, whatever structure is best for you. I think Arlen has something to add.
Yeah, I do want to add, and this would not to deter your plan already, but I do want to give the insight of, for us, our funding does go to New Mexico based. So if it is not in New Mexico, we got two things that we have to adhere to. We have to do 50% rural. So if you're not in New Mexico, you're not in a rural area, that's already going to put you at a deficit for some of our grants. And then not being in New Mexico is going to put it at an even further deficit, because I would be looking more at New Mexico based businesses because I'm growing the New Mexico economy and not California's or any other entity. Like, you can have it. And I think the other thing I would probably say is, like, you kind of would, in a way, you're boxing yourself out of certain funding. Because if you had your LLC, at least an LLC, with your nonprofit sponsor, now you can go for profit and nonprofit grants, with your sponsor still being able to take on your for-profit grants too. And now you open up your pool a little more. Because I understand where you're going already with the having a physical agent. You already kind of put yourself higher than most for-profit. So if you started your for-profit, if that is the plan, even if you started your own nonprofit, it goes back to liability and entity structures. Because, for example, if your installation falls on somebody, it's going to go back to you and not that California-based business.
Yeah, and I just dropped a link in there that we did a show in December with like some queer rural youth, and the project was funded by UNM, but the fiscal agents was a group called Moving Arts in Española. So like, I guess maybe I share that to say that like our work is based here, and it was rural, it was in Española. We used essentially fiscal entity that took all of the money from UNM and the NIH. So like I don't know that it would be an issue, because ultimately I already have some of those relationships, and whenever I do work here, it is here, right? There's no like, there's no, this California entity was not involved in this situation because it was so clearly the impact, and the grant stipulation was rural partner, New Mexico, queer, in fact, his like, even like Latinx and Hispanic youth. So I have some experience navigating like those sort of regulations and stipulations.
No, yeah, for us, the only example I will have, like, more recently, because of that 50% rule for me, is I had somebody who was working with a nonprofit, but the question that we ask is, where is your business registered? And so in the nonprofit being registered in Albuquerque, but the work was being done in Espanola, where the work was being done probably would have qualified, but because the business is registered in Albuquerque, they did not qualify. So that would be the only things that I'm saying, like, as long as you're working with a nonprofit in Albuquerque or in a rural area or wherever you go, like following our grants, make sure that that entity is within this state. Because I would say for us, and it's not like it's going to be overt in the writing to say we're not going to fund somebody in California, because that'll be wrong. We're not,
Right.
we would fund your business, your physical entity, if that's where it's at. We just need to know where you are at, the person that's doing it, and if you have an entity behind you. So that's all I would say on that, is to avoid any confusion, I guess, if that was the case. And I'm only saying from my perspective. I really think what you got going on is really probably one of the smoothest structures that I've ever seen, to be able to kind of get it going and really be functioning with, like you said, a limited resource, because a lot of our creators don't have access to a nonprofit and physical agent. That's not going to take too much from the grant money, because we see a lot of people who are doing 50% to 25 to 50, and that's a little different when you're thinking about your operational budget and what you end up getting back. So it sounds like you got a good built relationship with partners to to actually make a profit on your own and then get to kind of maneuver from there.
Yeah, and actually one thing that you're bringing up is knowing how rural businesses and rural economic development is more of a thing. This is a situation where I would consider like, I do retreats in Las Cruces, and I wonder if it would make sense to like actually, if I did incorporate, I would maybe do it out of a co-working space there. So I could have that from a,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, just like literally, as far as the state is concerned, I'm a rural business. Um, so yeah, thanks for that insight about the 50%.
Yeah, yeah. That's good. It's good to know just because I always have to let people know when it comes down to our funding when I'm looking at it. And the more funding we get, the more obviously the more it goes to urban areas and other things like that. But that 50% rule is heavy in that statute, same as film is another thing that's heavy for us. It don't make sense for us not to fund film, but we also have a film office, so it's not to double dip in certain economic development funding. So I can say for nonprofits, the grant funders are completely different because they're not state entities for the most part, right? The economic and business side, it is normally state entities. So we do pay attention to double dipping in certain funding pools and certain things like that. And then we also pay attention to, can we build up a certain funding pool to help you get into another economic development plan or something along those lines.
Yeah, I would agree. It's one of the most unique and successful relationships that I've seen, and creative. Being creatives, we come up with creative ways, to collaborate and facilitate growth. Because it already sounds like, I mean, I just looked at what I just saw, already blew me away. I can't wait to go into it. But and that's where like networking comes in again. We're going to talk about networking more in some of the other workshops, but say for instance, you were talking to somebody about your ideas and what, for what you wanted to do, and they go, hey, I've got someone I know who owns a nonprofit that might be interested in talking to you, and bam, you end up with the relationship you have right now. So a lot of people, they sometimes, especially creatives, tend to, not want to share with each other, or, and this goes in general, they're like, I don't want you to know my trade secrets, or I don't want you to know rip off my designs, or whatever. And actually, networking has been one of the most important tools in my business, uh, tool cabinet period, is networking and getting referrals, or getting testimonials, and just some customers have helped me get into wholesale relationships with stores because they know the store owner, or they're a loyal customer there. Next thing you know, I've got this new wholesale account. So there's, yeah, a lot of special relationships like that, so I'm really glad to hear that. And I can't wait to check out more of what you do. Now, I'm
I'm
sorry.
sorry to interrupt. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Allyson, but I was also excited because I was checking your Google document, and I'm thinking, what if he brings an event to Tier C? This is a rural area, and it's very artistic also. And there's a great space. The Rio Bravo Gallery has next door, it's called the Ice House, and it used to be the Ice House, and it burned, so it has no roof, and it's beautiful. I love it.
Acoustics
So
are
yes, sorry.
we've got some great venues down here. We've already got some people who have done, um, like artist Abby, um, Hieronymus Boggs. He's on the Arts Council. He did sort of a interactive. I think it was dance, it was music, and it was also like performance art. He did
That
that.
was Meteoric.
Hmm?
That's
Yes,
Meteoric.
yes,
Yes.
that was
Yeah.
Meteoric. And then there's other people who have spaces. So anyway, there's quite a few spaces here that you could tap. for that.
Maybe Mayowa, maybe you should come down to TRC for Art Hop next weekend, Saturday.
Yeah, there's it's every was second Saturday?
Yeah.
Every second Saturday of the month. And she's right. Art Hop is a great time to come because all the Arts Council members are going to be out. A lot of the business community that support the arts are out. Of course, you know, the local community who are interested in the arts are out. Tourists especially love to come that weekend so you could get an idea of the types of, you know, people that are attracted to not only TRC but you know this area, because southern New Mexico has its own flavor versus northern New Mexico, and then of course you know we're a very unique type of community, just like say Silver City is a very unique type of community, but we're very very different. You know, so yeah, that would be great for you to come down and check it out because I think there would be a lot of opportunity here because we have a lot of different types of artists and more moving in every day. Literally.
Yeah. I mean, I think even where I stayed in Truth or Consequences last time, it was an Airbnb, but I think it's like 5 of the 6 units were artist studios.
Yeah.
So I think that it seems, I definitely wasn't, when I was there, I was definitely curious about the community or even the stories, because you guys have a spaceport there randomly,
Yep.
Like
right?
20, 30 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah, and then even the history of the town and how it got named. It's such a fascinating place.
And you
Well,
know our
What was that?
motto, the TRC motto is we're all here because we're not all there.
and see, I have to put my plug in. Sierra County is very just chock full of history, like the whole state. I live in a ghost town called Cuchillo. It's about 12 miles northwest of Truth or Consequences on the Geronimo Scenic Byway. So we have a scenic byway that goes through Sierra County. And I live in a house that was built in the late 1800s. My appraisal literally says like 18, I think it says 1880 question mark. And I was like, what? Is that legal? You know? And, you know, for instance, we have our old mission churches in a lot of these communities. And we're about to have the fiesta of our old mission church, which we call the new old church because, the old one got flooded and was destroyed, and they built a new one in about 1920. So it's still over 100 years old, but it's newer. And so there's a lot of Apache history out here. There's a lot of Buffalo Soldier history out here. There's, of course, the farm and ranch aspect and these families who, like I said, they've been here for generations, even before New Mexico was a state. So yeah, there's a lot of interesting things. And speaking of like interactive, I'm going to mention this real quick and then we'll wrap up. Uh, I have been very interested in doing some land art kind of installations. And UNM actually has a land art semester. So it's become a more formalized art practice. And you know, land art can also be an interactive, you know, uh, kind of performance art as well. Um, so yeah, that's I don't know why I brought that up. There must be something there. Uh, so yeah, come down and we'll talk about land art too, because the spaceport looks like land art. It's a gorgeous building, and that will be, if you know, all fingers crossed, it will be operational with regular flights in 2026. So that's what we're hoping is that they're going to be regular flights, and we're really working as a community to get people to stay here versus Las Cruces. So yeah, we're trying to build up the types of businesses that would support people staying here versus Las Cruces, because they did build a road from the spaceport to Cruces that you can take versus taking the interstate. So anyway, yes, this is great. Thank you so much for attending. And it's really wonderful to meet you both. Like I said to Jessica, I've seen her name around so much, so I'm really glad to meet you. And Arlen, we've been trading emails, and so it's very, very nice to meet you. And Mayoa, you are on an amazing track, and I can't wait for you to
Thank
come down
you.
and meet. And it's interesting the land art thing came up. I'm really that's really getting me. And Arlen, I have to ask you, I need to know who your barber is. That is one of the most beautiful afros I have seen in a very
I have not gotten my hair cut now since last November. So it's just been me picking it out and patting it down with
Hey,
the hands, just been getting the perfect curve on the hand and just patting it down as best as possible. Because really my hair is probably about like right here. It's
yep,
it's to get it the shape that it is now, it got to be this small. But yeah. But I mean, it's some good barbers here in Albuquerque. They coming up more and more. My actually come from a family of barbers, and my main thing is if I don't see you pull out the shears when you're doing my hair, even starting off, and I don't see any shears, I already know we having a problem and I need to get up out the chair because you ain't going you cutting off too much. So that's but yes, no, I've just been taking care of it myself. This is just good shampoo and conditioner.
yep, yep. Well, thank you for that. Yeah, because I'd like to get. I had a afro going good for a while, and then I fell off, and I want a Pam Grier. You know, Pam Grier.
I understand that.
Oh, it gave me a barber academy.
Yes, Barber Academy we have here in Albuquerque. It's actually a Black-owned barber studio academy here. And
Okay. Nice tip about the shears, because my cousin's a barber, and that's the first thing he does.
I'm saying everybody who's trained properly uses shears more than they use the clippers, depending on the length of the hair. So if
Yeah.
it's like I'm just coming in for a fade, I expect nothing, but I really still expect shears. Because you still should be going at least over the top of my head with a little something. You know, I don't care if it's just acting like you're cutting something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it takes a special skill with the shears
Mm-hmm.
versus that, trimmer. Yeah, yeah. Well, thank you for that. I've
Yeah,
gotten so
no
much out
problem.
of today. I'm excited to get this kicked off. This is a great first session for me, and I can't wait for everyone else to see it and view it. And email everybody who wasn't attending today and tell them to watch it and go over the written material before our next week's meeting so they can be ready, and also be starting some of these tasks, because that's really why I did the longer form workshop. For instance, Jessica, has already got her business license and things like that. But I wanted it to be, like I said, actionable. Like, you
Right.
get out of this workshop today, you go to the, Sierra County or whatever office and you get your business license, or you go to the city of Santa Fe and get your business license. Really wanted to really, lay a good foundation, but make it where, you can do this. Let's get it going,
Right,
Makes
right.
sense.
Yeah.
And now I will send you the recording. Once I end this, it will come to me. It'll probably be via cloud. If I don't, it will be either me or Shawnee who will send that to you.
Okay. All
And
right.
then we should be able to get that. I don't know how we'll get it out. We'll probably end up cutting it and sending it to you to send it out to all the other participants connected to the workshop.
Okay, great. And then I could send that and the written material at the same time.
Yep.
Perfect.
I have a quick question.
Mhm.
If there is an event that it's not done through the Arts Council or Main Street, but we can ask them to spread the word, is there any way we can do something or get something through the creative division?
As long as you send it before the 15th of, because we do our newsletter around the 17th of each month. So if you send it to us and it's going on that month, send it to us before the 15th. I believe that will be a good time to get you in. personally, I'll probably say shoot for the 7th at the latest to send us anything, and you can send it to me via email. I'll put my email in the chat.
Yeah,
Or
I saw
you
it.
can
I
find
got
our
it.
email on the website, but you can send it to us and then sign up for the newsletter so you can see how often we do it. And then you just, as long as you send it before, it should be on the newsletter. Because it wouldn't be too much of a problem to just highlight some of the especially coming from arts councils. I think that's a little easier. Because
Yeah.
I've been trying to figure out, is it our place to really highlight events being a state entity, knowing that if we start doing it, it can be an overwhelming amount of events that we're putting on the newsletter. So
No, it could go through the Arts Council or Main Street. But
but I
my
think we
question
can
was
definitely put that in our social media easily.
right.
Yeah.
So my question was more about funding is because okay, so a friend of mine brought like 80 mannequins from Chicago
Mhm.
3 years ago, and we did a mannequin project. And it was huge, and there was three of us organizing it. We tried to go through the Arts Council, but it was a different board and it was
Mhm.
hard. So we took it out. Then we went to Main Street. It was another shit show again. It's two new boards that are very workable right now at both
Mhm.
places. But my friend, who's the one who created this concept, she's like, no, I don't want to do it again through any of these. Remember what happened, blah, blah, blah. So we're getting them again. And what we did was we put the mannequins in galleries, stores, cafes, all over town. We did an unveiling, then we did an auction, but we didn't have the restriction of going through any of the board of the Main Street or the Arts Council or the Chamber. So my question would be, if we did it again, because we've been talking about it, doing it again, do we need to go through one of them in order to get some funding for it?
I would definitely say yeah. So
Okay.
your Main Street and your art council are going to be your closest to being like your creative funding backers, to be honest with you, because Main Street actually has its own organization that's national outside of your specific area. So like to really tap into the amount of funding that you probably could be looking for, I would definitely probably, for me, if I was doing anything, I would start partnering with somebody already on the Main Street, and I would be throwing everything that I could on Main Street, because then you're getting them to use their money to sponsor, which they can. You get outside of their Main Street, they can't do nothing for you.
Is
And
it?
so
Mhm.
it is good to drive more artistic endeavors towards that when you're thinking about funding, hosting, needing space, or anything like that, because they can at least, even if it can't give you funding, they can at least give you one of the spaces that they have, because it's that's in their jurisdiction to some extent, right? They may not be the owner of the building, but they know the owner, and they'll be able to talk to them. So I would say your Main Street should be a good resource. We're more of like our grants would fall into that space for that, but us sponsoring something, it would have to have like a economic value, like some kind of return on investment that you can prove that the art council is getting, businesses are getting exposure or something along those lines. So we would come in, and that would be more of our creative season grant, but also sometimes we do like we're sponsoring the Atomic 66 here in Albuquerque, and that falls in our tech and creative space too. But that's it's an endeavor to bring in more tech and bring in more creatives to tech and understand that bridge. So as long as it has a good economic value, that's when we come in. Main Street don't need exactly the economic value because they already can kind of maneuver that with you. But they do have a creative economic lens too, and they do actually have a person that focuses on that in the Main Street.
Mhm.
So that's my other resource. The other thing I would probably say outside of Main Street is looking at the New Mexico Arts Foundation. Because if you're looking for just projects, New Mexico Arts Foundation is the ones that have been funding projects for years, before we even existed. Because they're more of the arts and project way of looking at the creative industry, and we are the economic viewpoint of that.
Right. Okay, that it makes sense. Mhm.
So we blend, and honestly, it's more of us making the separation than not, because everything already existed before we existed, and we're not trying to step on no toes or cause any more confusion. At most, we're trying to just highlight the resources that already exist and already could be intertwined. So those are two entities I would definitely say when it comes down to your New Mexico, your Arts Council. Those are resources to be looking at, and if you're not on their newsletter, go ahead and go to their website and add yourself to that newsletter, because the funding opportunities they have, as well as with the Main Street and then with us, I feel like you should be able to find something that fits your business, arts council, or otherwise.
Okay, great.
Yeah, yeah, and like you said, there's a new board of the Arts Council. There's new people in Main Street, and Main Street would be TRC only. But Sierra County Arts Council, it could be anything in Sierra
That's
County.
the thing too.
Right.
Yeah. And I forgot about that, because the counties is completely different, so that's even bigger. And then I feel like one thing could say where we could come in at is, let's say you're telling me that it's a problem of that you want to do something, but it's communication problem with some of those councils. That can be what I'm doing when I'm coming there. And now that could be the conversation that I'm thinking about spinning and getting more people in, and who would be for what you're talking about, right? And whether that's a project or is that more collaboration. I just came back from Artesia, Carlsbad, and Roswell, and that was the narrative where it's like, y'all are within 45 minutes, an hour of each other for real. You can within an hour, you can drive across all three towns. And it
Right.
doesn't
Yeah.
make sense that nobody is supporting each other, where the Main Street in Artesia, like you might be packed in Roswell, you might be semi-packed in Carlsbad, but Artesia, you see empty spaces and stuff like that. You can't drive 30, you could drive 30 minutes to get to your location if it's gonna be cheaper. So it's just thinking about how can we have those bigger collaborative conversations to where, yeah, we could have an arts council like Chavez Arts Council, because Roswell doesn't have an arts council with their Main Street. But Artesia had an art council, Carlsbad had an arts council. So when you see those gaps, at least that's where I'm able to kind of see those. It's kind of like, well, if they have the places that are functioning well has a Main Street and an arts council. When you only have one, it's kind of like, well, what's going on here? Where's the true support? So it's almost how I'm seeing it is, we need that collaboration between those two entities. And if one doesn't exist, we need to be thinking about making it.
Yeah, and I'm glad you said that, because in the Arts Council, the year just started, and in the first meeting of the year, it was brought up. Apparently, this is an ongoing thing that the Arts Council wants to create a official arts district here.
Mhm.
And apparently it's a lot of paperwork and all this,
It is,
but
but
it
it's
has to
working.
be done through Main Street. Like we can't
Mhm.
Oh,
and we are running into a brick wall with Main Street, with them saying, nope, we're not doing it. Nope, it's too much work. And it's, to me, ridiculous. It's been shown, and someone did a presentation in the meeting about how much revenue and how much more
Mhm.
tourism becoming an arts district brings in. Because we do have a hot springs district, a designated hot springs district. So I basically am making it my personal crusade to get a arts district set up here. Because I mean, I don't know why we don't already have one. I was kind of shocked that we don't already have one.
I can say and this is just me, I'm not in Main Street, and I'm not going to, I don't want to speak on the business to say like I'm an expert, but I've only learned about them since I kind of started in November. And I can say, like, I did not know some of the things that was happening here in Albuquerque was due to the Albuquerque Main Street
Ah,
until I knew and I found now I know the Albuquerque Main Street director, but we've been not growing up together like that, but like kind of came in New Mexico at the same time. We've been in Albuquerque around the same time. We kind of have the same circles, but we just so happen to get in these two positions that are kind of in line. And now I know all of our art walks that I've been going to for the past 2 or 3 years since COVID was Main Street. The food market that's going down there is Main Street. And the reason why they're able to do that is because it's deemed an art district, right? We have other main streets in Albuquerque. We got like 60 of them, feels like, right? in
Yeah.
the Albuquerque space alone, but it's only like one or two with an arts district. And you can see the difference in what they're able to produce and visibly see and what the artists are saying in those spaces compared to when you go to ones that are still kind of newly established, like the San Pedro one or Corrales, where I didn't even know we had one in Corrales, and things like that. So it's definitely um some gaps there. But I do feel like as long as the people, and that's what y'all are saying, people who live in that community are saying they want to have that, I feel like that's where it's understanding what are their no's, and can you fill those no's in with your own effort and time to make it seem like it's not as hard, because I don't think it'll be hard. It's hard in the beginning, but what's the payoff in the long run?
Yeah.
Mhm.
If
Yeah.
that's
And
really going to lead into economic advancement, then honestly, it puts you back into where anything that we're doing, we can fund that. If it's a festival, that's going back to what you were saying. It's a wholesale festival, even for just TRC. That's funded, and we can definitely be like, okay, we understand the value of that. That's in that area. Probably not too many things going on. Can we connect other artists in that space to be able to come out there and support it? And could that be something bigger later on? I mean, that's kind of how I'm always thinking is, could that be now we've seen that, could we host a creative industry summit in TRC? Can
Mhm.
they have the capacity to do that? Like all of my thoughts is going to be, where can we build up the economic um impact? And when we come into these places, and can we make it to where, yeah, like right now, if I said I got 300 people coming to TRC, it might not be able to be feasible. Cool. But if I'm bringing it and putting it in your head, can it be feasible in the next 2 years? And
Mhm.
could that funding and money be put there? And do the people want that in the end too? That's the really, do they see the value of that, and do they want that? And
Mm.
that's kind of where we're at overall whenever I'm making those visits, is just to understand I got the needs assessment from the study overall for the state, but what are the real needs for the individual spaces? Like I like that y'all always bring up Silver City. Silver City was the first place that I went to visit, and I was like, dang, I did not know it was so much art and so much going on, because we don't just sit into art. I mean, entertainment, museums, uh,
Mhm.
graphic design, the maker spaces, all those things fall into us. And it's like you see it that it's growing there. And it could, and in my head is thinking we can take over the mining industry that we've been so dependent on.
Yeah.
We've been making things forever, and people have been paying the price to come and get it, come here and get it, and then keep us as a hidden gem. How do we put ourselves up on a bigger playing field where they know you come to New Mexico, you're coming for the creators, right?
Yeah.
You're coming for the entertainment. You're coming
Get
for
the real
everything that
deal.
you do to
Yeah.
uplift our people and not push them out to go everywhere else. Because like you
Yeah.
said, that's the same issue we have in New Mexico overall, but really that's the thing too. Keep them in Truth and Consequences, keep them in Los Lunas. We don't need them going to Albuquerque, and we don't need them going to Las Cruces. We need them to think about, how can you stay here and build up, or go get your degree, go get the money, bring the money back.
Mhm.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, and I think the arts district, the holdup is basically one person, and I think this person, and I can understand this because I think this person is thinking that they're going to have to do all that work themselves, and I was immediately like, once I found out who it was, this person's extremely talented and
Mhm.
has done a lot of complex projects, like something like setting up an arts district. So I have a feeling the reason that they don't want to do it is because they feel like they're gonna have to do it all alone. So there's a few of us that are going to get together, arts council members, other people, and say, look, we want this. Look at all of us who want this. We're here to help make it happen. Because the demographics, I couldn't believe the numbers that he provided in his presentation about how much more tourism traffic places that have arts districts get.
Yeah.
I mean, I was like, what? Really? I just,
Loving is a good example of that. Loving and I believe Silver City has an art district as well,
they
and
do.
and you can see the difference in just in that, right? So I would say it's definitely a impact. I think Grants even brought one up. I don't think they have it, but I think they brought up like the use of how our arts district could help them too. But I think that's the thing. I mean, whatever we can, I think that's the conversation we would want to
Yeah,
see
when
how
you
we
come
can be a
down,
part of and support.
yeah, that would be awesome because I know this person. If you come down and we got some council members and maybe some other interested parties in when you come down and do kind of the open house, and we
Hmm.
can sit everybody down together and say, not only how much it would help the community, but everybody's showing their faces saying, we're here to help. One person is not going to have to do all this because it has to be done through Main Street. If we could do it, we do it. And there's many people on Main Street who want to do it. It's just this certain person who I know it's because they think they're going to get saddled with all the work. So,
I
so
think I know who you're talking about.
I think we can make it happen. Especially like you say, we have you as kind of a facilitator and that kind of in between. So
Yeah,
we kind of take out all the local um
right,
friction, I should say,
Right.
by
Yeah,
one
and I
less.
definitely would want to probably if I do that now that you're saying it, it might just be trying to see if I can get somebody here from our Albuquerque office that would want to come down with me too as a Main Street representative, and we just kind of see what the conversation is. They can kind of get some feedback and information too, and we just go from there. Because I don't want to, like I said, don't want to overstep anybody's job or say something like, well, CID said we need the arts council or the arts district. And we don't, and I don't even know what it really entails, right? Because then, so I don't want to do that, but I do want to make sure that I am bringing as many resources and people as possible that I can be able to see if that conversation is hard or if it's not. Because at least by having that representative there, we can know, oh no, it takes a lot. It takes a lot. It takes a whole lot, right? And if it's this case, we have the people and we can kind of see if everybody has that capacity or not, and
right.
speak at least speak from it from that point. But I'm glad you kind of given me some of that insight because I can already think about talking to Main Street before they start going and doing their travel things and see who will be interested in coming down
Yeah, see,
to the open house with me.
that would be great because I think that, like I said, it's like a facilitation. It's like, okay, Main Street Albuquerque's coming down, CID is coming down, Sierra County Arts Council. I know there's people on the Chamber of Commerce who want an arts district. Let's all come in the same room and figure out how we can get this done because uh, it needs to be done. Period. It should have been done a long time ago. And yes, if it is some long, arduous process, well, many hands make light work. You
Yep.
don't have to do it alone. So I think that's what's holding us up is they think they're going to get saddled with it alone. And that is not the case. But yeah. Okay, well, this was great. A lot of good stuff came up that's
Yes,
unplanned,
thank
which I
you.
love the spontaneity.
Yeah, me too. Thank you all so much. Thank you both.
Thank y'all too. And so I'm going ahead and end the call now, and then when I get that recording, I'll send it to you. Okay.
Okay,
All right,
great.
y'all have a wonderful day.
All right, nice to meet you
Bye. Thank you all.
virtually.
Nice to
Bye.
see
Have a
you.
good day. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.